Welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter. Today is November 13th, 2025. This is our 191st class. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Christi Hughes, who is a DTM, to our BA Masterclass. Tonight she's going to talk about the From Insights to Action using Strength Finders to elevate your BA practice. I am very excited about this because I've taken this class from her at Cincinnati Insurance Companies, and it's been a pleasure. Let me go back. I just lost my notes. Here we go. So from this class, Christi's going to share how discovering and applying her Clifton strengths has transformed her approach as a business analyst. Through personal stories and practical examples, she's going to demonstrate how strengths-based mindset can enhance stakeholder engagement, improve clarity and requirements, and elevate core BA techniques. This session empowers attendees to move beyond self-awareness into intentional action, using their unique strengths to collaborate more effectively, communicate with purpose, and solve problems strategically, which is, of course, what we want to do. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the president of the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter, and I've been a business analyst for nearly 30 years. My career spans a diverse variety of industries, and I've had the honor of contributing to the BABOC and founding the BA Force Multiplier movement. Today's BA Masterclass is about growth, connection, and impact. Whether you're a new BA or refining your approach, Tampa Bay IIBA is here to support your journey, so let's dive in. Let's begin with those who are new to the IIBA. The International Institute of Business Analysis is the global governing body for business analysts. With about 30,000 members, 120 chapters worldwide, and 7 certifications, we are excited about making the world better, one business, one project, and one life at a time. I just said how the IIBA is the governing body for business analysts. This means it's the best known and most highly respected certifications that come from the IIBA, using the BABOC as the guide. What are the benefits of joining the IIBA? Access to training provided by chapters around the world. Complimentary access to over 11,000 outstanding books, webinars, including the BABOC, and webinars and additional resources. You also get discounts on certification exams. Of the 120 IIBA chapters, this is the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter, and this is our board. These are the folks who work behind the scenes for your benefit. We appreciate them working so diligently to benefit our participants. In fact, each of them were nominated for the Regional Volunteer of the Year Award, and of the 5 finalists for the region, these 3 are finalists. We will discover who wins on Friday. Congratulations and good luck to all of them. IIBA chapters are in major cities around the world. If there isn't an active chapter near you, we can talk to you about starting a chapter yourself, or you're welcome to the Tampa Bay IIBA. Members of the Tampa Bay, Florida chapter aren't restricted to residents of Florida. In fact, Tampa Bay IIBA chapter has members from all around the globe. If you do not have an IIBA chapter, Tampa Bay can be your chapter. Our vision here is building a thriving community of empowered business analysts. Why would you choose to join the Tampa Bay chapter? We offer multiple training sessions every single week, including CBAP, prep, and coaching. You can view our upcoming events at our website and the events posted across LinkedIn and Facebook. And by the end of the year, we will have put on over 200 events this year, and all of those events are available on YouTube. To get an index of all those recordings, you go to Bob's Amazing Index here at rpchurchill.com. Thanks to Bob Churchill. And exciting news, the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter is one of 5 finalists for a Global IIBA Award, all thanks to the efforts of our board. We continue to support those who are on their certification journey. These students have reached out to tell us that our training and mentoring was a big part of the success in achieving their certification. Of these 28 folks, a majority have gone on to lead IIBA chapters here and around the world. We make leaders here. We continue to celebrate these wins, and I want to note this one right here. Kasi just earned his AAC. This one was with the Bluegrass chapter. He took a class from them. And congratulations to Kasi. These are things that you need to know. For a limited amount of time through the end of December, IIBA members receive 20% rebates on any certification exam when purchased and completed by December 30th. The rebate applies to exam fees and exam rewrite fees only. It does not cover the application fees for the CCBA or CBAP. Only purchases made with a credit card are eligible. There's a list of FAQs. You're going to want to read them, but I encourage you to look into it if you're interested in one of the certifications. Right now, on the other side of the world in Australia, Global Business Analysis Day is going on. I've participated in the first part of it. It's going to go on for the next almost 24 hours with presentations from around the world. You can participate free. America's scheduled to begin at 11 a.m. Eastern on the 14th. And right after that, we're going to find out who all the winners are. I'm going to be emceeing the America's schedule, so I will see you there if you attend. Those of you who will be in Florida for the next few weeks, you might consider attending the 2025 Florida Technology Summit. I've got free passes for any of our participants who want to attend. We want to shout out to all our partners, but our number one partner group is you, IIBA members, and those who participate with our chapter. We are partnered with over a dozen IIBA chapters worldwide, and we mentor 3 of the chapters that are just now forming. We partnered with the Doback Group based in the UK and 3 in the Tampa Bay area. We've also partnered with several recruiting companies and training companies to benefit our community. One of the benefits of that is that you get discounts. Watermark Learning offers you a 40% discount using this code. This means that you can get unlimited access to over 1,200 CBAP practice test questions at a 40% discount. Adaptive US, who specializes only in business analysis, offers our participants a 20% discount on all live classes and on-demand courses, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers. Adaptive has an impressive guarantee. If you take a certification course from them and you don't pass the test, they will pay for you to retake it twice. That's standing behind their training. On November 20th, we'll have the last meetings of 2025 to talk about what we've accomplished for this year so far, and then talk about our plans for 2026. We do have big plans: CBAP prep training, SDLC workshop, and so many other trainings that you've told us are valuable. I hope you get to attend and get the scoop on things to prepare for our first meeting on January 1st. So from November 20th on through the end of the year, we're going to take a much deserved break. Let's talk about what happens on January 1st, though. January 1st, we have the first of our Be Informed IIBA membership series, What's in It for You? And we have another meeting that's going to be on soft skills that we're still scheduling. Later in the year, we've been asked when the next SDLC event will take place. We're expecting it to start in August, September, October, and November of this next year. And we are working on presenters for this next year. You may know some of these beautiful faces. We do have a speaker application for anyone who's interested. You will love the good that they bring. To keep up with our events, subscribe to our events on our website, tampabayiba.org, select events, and subscribe to notifications, and join our LinkedIn group, IIBA Tampa Bay Chapter in Florida, USA. Right now, due to the work of several on our board, especially Cliff Gray, our Vice President of Marketing, our LinkedIn group has passed 1,500 members. It's a milestone worth celebrating. And now to our presentation. Christi Hughes, I'll let you take the screen.
All right, sounds wonderful. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. Has it worked?
It's starting.
Okay. All right. Is it good?
We can see it. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. All right, well, welcome. For those of you I have not had the opportunity to meet, I'm Christi Hughes. I am a business analyst in the insurance industry, and I am thrilled to join you this evening and share with you it's a passion of mine, which involves helping people to identify their strengths, helping them understand what makes them exceptional, and then helping to propel them to embrace all that is unique about them. And this passion, it's executed through Clifton Strengths philosophy, um, used to be called Strengths Finders. So you'll hear both terms. And what I want to do this evening is I want to expand upon how understanding our personal strengths, how it can enhance our BA practices. So I'm going to put a document real quick in the chat. And let me know if that went through. And the document that is in the chat, it's a quick reference guide from Gallup on the Clifton Strengths. And really, I wanted you to have it. It gives a brief description for each of the 34 strengths and the domains. It's things I'll talk about here in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure you guys had that information. And I encourage you, as I'm talking, please put questions in the chat, and we'll walk through those questions at the end. All right. Well, again, like I said, I'm Christi Hughes. It's funny in my bio that I had asked a couple people to contribute. It's funny that they talk about that I am a person that has a love and a flair for all things. Let me think, blingy and glittery. So if you know me, or as you get to know me, you'll realize it's a very, very accurate description. So this evening, I'll be introducing the framework of Clifton Strengths. Now, I don't plan on teaching the full methodology to you tonight. I encourage that if you're interested in the assessment or in the information as I talk about it tonight, to go to the Gallup's website to do a little bit of a deeper dive, right, with their resources and assessments and courses. But for tonight, my focus, I want to share with you my experiences with Clifton Strengths and how it has shaped my personal and my professional journey. I'll walk you through my top 5 strengths and share some insights that I have discovered along the way. Share with you some practical examples of how I applied these insights to elevate my work as a business analyst. So a little bit later, I am going to do a very, very quick exercise with you guys. It's literally less than 2 minutes of an exercise, and you'll just need access to a piece of paper and a writing utensil. So nothing elaborate, just a piece of paper and a writing utensil. Just keep those handy for in a little bit. All right, so with a show of hands, or you can put a reaction in the meeting chat, how many have heard of Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finders? Okay. All right, there's a couple. And how many of you know your top 5 strengths? All right. Okay. Well, good. Well, whether you're familiar with them or not, tonight you will benefit from tonight. So Clifton Strengths, it is a framework that's designed to help individuals identify and leverage our natural talents. So it's those instinctive patterns in how we think and how we feel, how we behave, make decisions. And these talents that are just natural to us, they are the foundation of our potential. Because if you think about it, they become very, very powerful when we invest the time and the effort to develop them. So when these talents meet, intentional practice and that skill building, that is where the magic happens. It's unlocking performance and even confidence, I would say. And I think it does that. I feel like it does that, or it did it for me because it feels authentic, right? This is what I'm just naturally good at. So why not try to excel at it? So the origins of Clifton strengths start with Don Clifton, who, when he returned from World War II, he had this curiosity for human development. So he decided he was going to study it. He enrolled in the University of Nebraska. And while he was studying this human development, he discovered something very surprising. Nearly every psychology book focused on what was wrong with people. He couldn't find a single resource at that time that explored what might actually be right with people. And it was this realization in Don Clifton that sparked a groundbreaking shift in perspective. And it eventually, it redefined how we think about personal growth. So, determined to change that narrative, Don Clifton, he started pioneering research that emphasized our strengths rather than our weaknesses. And it was that work that laid a foundation for strengths-based approaches to development. And it was challenging those traditional deficit-focused models. So the philosophy, basically, it encourages people, organizations, to build upon what they naturally do best, right? Let's focus on that rather than fixating on our shortcomings. So over the decades, this research evolved into Clifton Strengths Assessment, as we know today. Like I said, it used to be referred to as Strengths Finders. And that tool, it identifies your unique ranking among these 34 talent themes. And the 34 talent themes, that's in the quick reference guide that I had put in the chat, it highlights, right, in this ranking, which of those talent themes are you more dominant, right? They're the most dominant for you, and which ones are less pronounced. Because we have them all. It's just sometimes, we gravitate towards specific ones, right? And then there are others that I would say are farther down the list for you personally that you just don't naturally gravitate towards. But understanding these themes, you gain an insight to your natural patterns because it's how we interact, right? We make decisions. It helps our success. And what I love about this philosophy is it is not about labeling what you lack. It's about amplifying what you already have. So the 34 Clifton Strength themes, they're organized into 4 key domains. So the 34 strengths on the screen they're the bottom row. So these 4 domains, they represent different ways that we would contribute to success. So executing. People that have strengths in the executing realm, they are all about getting things done. They want to turn ideas into reality. They want to make sure there's a plan, right? So that this idea comes into action. So for influencing, those that have a strength in influencing, that helps us to take charge, speak up, right? We want to make sure voices are heard. It's not just our voice, but we want to make sure voices of the team are heard. And it really is essential in driving momentum. It helps with even visibility within a team because they do want to make sure that everybody has a voice. Relationship building, in my mind, people that have strengths in the relationship building, they are the glue that hold teams together, I feel like, because their natural strengths, they foster this trust and collaboration. And you can see the team and the group start to become stronger than the sum of its parts. And the fourth domain is strategic thinking. Individuals with these strengths, they focus on, they want to absorb that information, they want to analyze it, but they want to make informed decisions. And they want to make sure they want to chart the best path forward, right? Give me all the information so that I can make the best decision. To date, more than 36 million people have taken Clifton Strengths Assessment, and it has created a very, very rich database of insight to human potential. And the wealth of information, it reinforces a very, very powerful truth. When we embrace our strengths and allow others to do the same thing, it is when we create teams that are going to thrive. Don Clifton believed that people are going to perform the best when they are encouraged to work in their areas of strength, complementing one another, right? Trying to help, right? Each other. I'm strong in this, you're strong in that, right? Let's work together. And when you can work in your strengths and complement one another in strengths, that is so far better than trying to compensate for our weaknesses. And we can lean in to what we just naturally do, right? When we don't just excel, I feel like it helps us to elevate the collective performance of a team. So we're going to do this simple exercise that I think illustrates this perfectly. This is when you need your piece of paper and your writing utensil. So, easy instructions. I want you to write your name 5 times, like you normally would. Go ahead. Okay. The last instruction, I want you to do the same thing, right? I want you to write your name 5 times. I just want you to do it with your non-dominant hand. So I'm sure you probably noticed there was a big difference between that because your dominant hand, I mean, it is faster. I'm you write smoother. It requires less effort. As a matter of fact, I'll show you my note card. The class that we teach at my company, the co-instructor did that exercise with our participants, and this was mine. And you can see, I mean, I stopped halfway through the second time because I was just like, it was so like I had to concentrate so hard. And even if I practiced thousands of hours with my non-dominant hand, right? I could get to the point that I could write my name probably to where it looked just as good as my dominant hand. However, it will never match that ease and efficiency that you get with your dominant hand. And this analogy, I mean, it reinforces Clifton's belief that while we can absolutely improve areas of our weaknesses, absolutely we can. However, we will always achieve greater success when we invest in our natural strengths. So to truly build on your strengths, we first need to know them. And if you have not, taken Clifton Strengths Assessment. I highly encourage you, again, go to the Gallup website. They have all the information there to take the assessment. It is a great starting point for understanding your unique talents. So like I said, there's 34 Clifton Strengths, right? These themes. They rank them. So these are my top 5. Strategic, activator, woo, which stands for winning others only, over, significance, and communication. And on that handout, you can read the 1 or 2 sentence description of each of those. But over the past decade of me studying Clifton Strengths, I have developed a very deep appreciation for these qualities and how they shape the work I do. Because as I started to understand my strengths, it gave me this clarity, and even some confidence that I have seen firsthand take the work that I do to the next level, because it helps me in how I approach challenges, my relationships, right? How I look at solutions, make decisions. And the reason I feel that it elevates this is it is authentic to me, right? Because when I work in my strengths, I'm doing what's natural to me. So my husband and I, he took the assessment. So several years back when we had taken it, he and I spent several months where we would dive in to a different strength each week. Okay. Looking at my top 5 and his top 5. And we would dive in. We would research that strength. We would talk about it. We would share examples of, how we saw that strength in them, in each other, ourselves. And it was so eye-opening to learn about each other, because it wasn't just learning about myself. I was learning about him. Why does he do what he does? Right? Why does he make decisions that way? And we have gotten my mother-in-law hooked. All that she has been hearing from us, she ended up taking the assessment so that she would find out where these 34 strengths rank. And now we're diving into each one of her strengths, one every week. And it is so, so neat to see somebody, regardless of age, right, want to learn about themselves. This evening, and well, really even outside this presentation, I encourage you to reflect on your own strengths. So how do your specific strengths, these are those things that just come natural to you, how do they show up in your business analysis work? Whether you're familiar with the 34 Clifton Strengths or not, think about what comes natural. What energizes you? What are the things that you do that honestly feel effortless at times? And when you think about that, those clues, those are going to often lead you to your strengths. Business analysts, man, we wear many hats. We're communicators. We investigate, we strategize, we facilitate, we analyze, and we do this all while navigating these really complex stakeholder environments. And Clifton Strengths, it offers this powerful framework to understand how we naturally approach things. And when we know those strengths, I feel like we can really lean into them because they're going to be more effective because they're authentic to us. And somebody said to me one time, this was a couple years ago, that self-awareness is a superpower. And I have really, really contemplated and thought about that a lot since that person said it to me. And it helps us anticipate how we're going to respond under pressure, right? How do we build relationships? How do we look at problems? How do we solve them, right? How do we make those decisions? And having that self-awareness, I mean, for me, discovering my strengths was a complete turning point for me. Because once I understood what I naturally do and accepted this is who I am, I stopped trying to fit in this mold of what I thought I was supposed to do or be, right? And it was that shift that it didn't just, improve my performance, but it elevated the ability for me to influence outcomes, right? I had more confidence. My collaboration, right, was so much more effective because, again, it's authentic to me. I was recently asked to help with an effort that involves multiple departments. And as you can imagine, these multiple departments have conflicting priorities, right? They each have their priority list, and they do not match across the departments. And that was fine. But I decided, rather than diving straight into the requirements piece, I thought, you know what? I'm going to leverage my woo strength, right? The winning others over. And I thought, I want to build this rapport with these key stakeholders. And so what I did is I ended up, having these very informal conversations because I wanted to understand their concerns and their goals. And I listened, right? And I talked with them and I met with them. And it could be, a 10, 15-minute conversation. Some of them were an hour, right? But I focused on them. And it built this trust that allowed me to start uncovering hidden requirements, right? Things that they weren't saying, but needed to be documented and we needed to figure them out. And later, as a few tough decisions came up and, the relationships that I had made helped these probably what could have been some pretty rocky conversations a little bit smoother, right? Because I was making sure that everybody's voice was heard. It didn't mean they went wonderful, but they were better than what they could have been. You see, woo, it's not just about charm. It's about creating trust so that collaboration can just become effortless. And harnessing those strengths, it can completely transform how you look at life. I mean, as BAs, we are managing the complex stakeholder relationships. Anybody ever been there? Right? We juggle competing priorities. We balance multiple roles, right? That I mentioned earlier, the communicator, we strategize, facilitate. And when you understand these natural abilities and you gain that level of self-awareness, that becomes this true superpower. And you will see it sharpens decision making. It's going to help you navigate challenging conversations. And it got all with this authenticity and ease that you probably didn't have before. I know I didn't until I recognized my strengths and I started embracing them and understanding them. And one of the most powerful lessons I have learned is that what feels so effortless to me can be incredibly difficult for someone else, and vice versa. My husband and I, so we've designed it's a career enhancement program for adults that we teach outside of work. And part of this program, we have our participants go through the Strength Finders assessment and we start talking with them about their strengths and what it means. And watching these participants discover like their unique strength, It's so eye-opening because people often assume that everyone approaches problems the same way. Everybody approaches a certain situation the same way. And we know in reality, our natural abilities, they're going to vary hugely. So, one of the strengths is empathy. So, my husband he is strong in empathy. It is, I think, his number two strength. Okay. Out of the 34 strengths, it's 25 for me. So, as you can imagine, it doesn't mean that I am not empathetic. It just means that I don't gravitate to it as quickly and as naturally as my husband does. And on the flip side, strategic's my number one strength. And for my husband, it's number 29, which makes sense because a lot of times, right? Opposites attract. That's how partnerships and teams, right, are so good when you have those individuals that can help to complement and to compensate for each other's strengths. And when a student comes to us in our program and they'll share something and they'll be talking with us, well, my husband automatically gravitates towards empathy, right? Christy gravitates towards strategy. And so, therefore, I'm coming up with a metaphorical checklist that I think this person probably needs to do because I want to help them. That's where I gravitate towards. And so, he and I get to figure out, does this person just need somebody to love them in that moment? Because if so, that's my husband, right? But if they need help figuring out what they need to do, right? How to get there, then that's going to be for me. And understanding that we have starkly different approaches, neither approach is considered, let's say, better or the best approach. It's just they're different approaches. And what we have to understand is they're both very essential because it's all depending on the situation. So instead of trying to force yourself into, a role that just drains your energy, you can lean into what you do best, partner with others, right? That can help you there. And that it's the magic that happens within teams because individuals are going to feel more engaged when they get to work in their zone of genius. And for me, embracing my strengths, like I started to second guess myself a lot less. And I shifted the mindset of, I've got to fix these weaknesses. I've got to work on these weaknesses, right? I shifted that to, I'm going to maximize my strengths. So a couple months ago, I was working with a developer who was attempting to share some just technical documentation to a very overwhelmed non-technical stakeholder. And so I talked with the developer and I said, let me help you, right? This was my communication strength coming out. And I, was helping to write this information in very clear, business friendly language, right? I created the visual diagram that illustrated the workflow. This is all stuff that we do, right? But again, this was my strength. It wasn't the developer's strength. And so I was able to step in and help. And we had a review session. I used a simple analogy to, explain this technical integration. And it was like all of a sudden I felt like people in the room were slowly nodding in agreement. And it was an aha moment, right? It improved this interaction with the stakeholders and it helped to reduce their misunderstanding. My strength of communication, it isn't just about talking, it's about building bridges between those gaps right? And it's helping to make complexity simple. So as I took a deeper dive into my top 5, I started asking myself, like, what aspects of business analysis do I excel at because of my strengths? And it was a pretty powerful realization that the strengths, I don't feel like they just shape who I am. Like they influence how I approach my work, the techniques, right? And when we can align our natural talents with the tools and methods of business analysis, this level of effectiveness, I mean, it starts to feel effortless. So my significant strength, it is one that motivates me to make an impact. And so I had a product group that I work with. I talked with them and proposed a new process to help identify and track the work that we were doing. And they were very apprehensive about this, new change because it was going to show a lot of transparency within the team. But again, my significant strength, it was so compelled to help them to understand, to reinforce the benefit of this process. I started working with the developers and with our system admins individually, right? I'd get with them and talk with them, and just help them through this. And seeing my team accept this change, even if slowly, right? But they started accepting it when they started seeing the benefits. And it's my significant strength that pushes me to deliver something that matters, not just complete tasks. I want to create outcomes that make a difference. And so when you think about, the BA techniques that we use, for example, when I think of it in relationship to a strength, one of the strengths is learner. So an individual with the strength of learner, they thrive on new knowledge. Okay. So they are wanting to absorb, they want to find out, right? The information, they're going to do the research. So, for example, if you're evaluating a new tool, new system, somebody with a strength of learner, they are going to help you absorb those technical details pretty quick. And they're going to translate them into business implications. So the recommendations, right? They're going to help get them formed. They're going to be forward thinking, and they're going to position that team or that organization. They're going to help them towards this innovation. So you see how somebody with the strength of learner, they could be the one that can excel at conducting the analysis on emerging technologies, right? They'll be the one that's going to gravitate towards that. Just like empathy. When I was talking about my husband with empathy, if you have a BA that has a strength in empathy, they bring a human lens to requirements. Because when you're writing user stories, you capture not just the functional needs, but those emotional drivers. So you're creating solutions that are going to resonate with the end user because their voice was heard. So an individual high in empathy, they can help stakeholders adopt this work and make sure that it resonates with them because they're capturing what matters to them. So think about your work. And what are those BA techniques that you do, right? What are the ones that you just love to do probably better than others, right? You excel at it. And think about how those techniques or the work that you do that comes so natural to you, think of how it pairs and connects with one of the Clifton strengths. Clifton strengths, it's way more than a tool. It's a mindset shift. And when you embrace what makes you unique, you can stop trying to fit into that mold. and you start working in your zone of genius because it's where confidence grows. It's where you can help the collaboration thrive. And my challenge to you, my call to action is I highly encourage you to discover your strengths. And then as you start to discover them, apply them intentionally. So take the Clifton Strengths Assessment if you've not already, and reflect on how your talents show up in your BA work. Because starting conversations with your team, maybe you have a BA partner, right? Or even other BAs in your department, and start building on what's right with people versus focusing on what we need to change. I encourage you, once you take the Clifton Strengths Assessment, there are so many courses and resources that are out there on Gallup's website that can help you dig deeper and really get an understanding for your unique talents and learn to apply them effectively, personally and professionally. I really appreciate you joining me tonight. Um, I welcome your questions. I invite you to connect with me even after the session if you'd like to continue the conversation. But I do want to open it up for questions or any thoughts. And Thea, I don't know if if there's any in the chat that you want to read, or if anybody just wants to come off mute and ask a question.
Sure. Is there a charge for the test? I've never been out to the Gallup website, so.
Mhm. So there is a charge for the website, for the assessment. If you purchase the book, which I don't know how much it is now. I think it was $25 or when I purchased it. When you purchase the book, in the very back of the book, there's a place that you can tear to open up, and it's got a code that gives you access to that assessment. But I do know that on Gallup website, you can just pay for the assessment if without buying the book. I don't know the cost of that. Like I said, when I bought the book, it was around $25.
Okay.
And then once you take the assessment and you create an account that's associated with the email, that you did the assessment under, then like it opens up a ton of resources because it'll then, it shows you your top 5 if you decide to, purchase a little bit of the larger assessment, you'll get your complete 34 list, but with your top 5, you click on, your any of the top 5 strengths, and then it goes into a deep dive, right, of all kinds of resources and ways for you to learn more about it. I hope that helps you answer your question.
Thank you. I put the cost for the top 5 in the chat as well as the 34. So for the top 5, it's about $25. For all of them, it's $60.
Okay. And what do you get with the book? Do you know? I mean,
So the
You get
book
the
is, yeah, the book is basically it's each strength. Okay. So for example, this one's connectedness. So it's got probably 3 or 4 pages for each strength. So it talks
okay.
about what it is. It gives you examples of, this strength, here's how this strength sounds, right? So it'll give you an example of somebody with that strength. And then it'll give you suggestions of things to consider, right? So it may be, hey, if you've got this specific strength, think about, you know, doing X, Y, or Z. So for example, my mother-in-law, her second strength is learner. And one of the recommendations is it talked about, you always want to keep learning, right? And acquiring that knowledge. So challenge yourself by taking a class or doing some sort of training. And so she signed up the very next day for a class that she's wanting, had been wanting to learn more about the subject. So very next day, right? She's getting the book, she's listening to it. So it just gives you some of those recommendations to think about for each of the 34 strings.
So for the test, for the class that Chrissy's teaching at work, we got the first 5 strengths and that's all we're focused on. But they're the top 5 strengths. And I've been really impacted because it almost gave me permission to be who I am. It almost says it's good that you are who you are instead of, I don't know if I should do that. But one thing I really appreciate is it's the opposite of what, for instance, in high school they said, you're good at English and social studies and science, but you really have to work on your math. And so you put all your focus on working on your math and you get discouraged and the rest of them start dropping and you're discouraged and it's just miserable to focus on your weakness. But looking at your strength, it's like you're great at these things. Somebody else can do the math and just go. Cussy, you have a question.
Yes, I do. Chrissy, thank you for sharing this. I think it helped me a lot. While the analysis is not really focused on finding what is wrong with people, uh, the question I have is there any proof that those strengths can be conflicted? Um, Meaning, let me give you a quick background. I work with a manager that care less about the solution, but she was really thrilled to um, explore, meaning try to find what will happen if we change this, and we can literally spend 3 days and holding just a solution that might bring value to stakeholder for that, and she care less. So I'm curious to know because it was a really challenging time for me because I was more like, hey, we need to get this out. She was like, no, take your time, try this, try to see what you can come up with in case that happen in the future, kind of thing. So I'm curious to know if those string, while they are not focused on finding what is wrong with people, might be the reason why sometimes we get in a conflict.
That's a good question. I feel like, when you look at the strengths and you start to look at and really focus on like what you're good at, in Clifton strengths, there's two terminologies that they use. It's called the basement and the balcony. And so, if I have a strength that, for example, I have a strength of activator. So if I was functioning in what Clifton Strengths calls the balcony, right, the top, I'm functioning very well in that strength, right? Whereas if I'm in the basement with my activator, as soon as somebody says something, like I'm ready to go. And I'm not willing to take the time that possibly needs to be taken, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not utilizing my strength the way I should. And so you it's focusing on your strength, but it also gives you insight into how that could be negative, right? I hope that makes sense
Yes,
because
it does.
with my activator, we joke in my family because people will literally start a conversation with me. I don't need you to do anything about this, Christy, but and all the time because they know that if they say something like I'm on it. My mother-in-law told me on a Sunday she was considering buying a car. This was during COVID. I had it. I had the one she wanted found. I had negotiated the price. I had finalized things and had the car delivered to her in 4 days. Right. And so she jokes about the fact that don't say anything to Christy if you really don't want her to act on it. So there are times I'm not working in the best that I can in that strength. And I also have to recognize that, like, I need other people to balance me out, right? Because you may want to get to a solution, and your manager may, right, want you to take a lot of time with the analysis and maybe the research, but there's a little bit of a balance in between both of those. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. I really appreciate that because it was a really challenging time for me, and I can understand why it was like that. Literally, she will spend hours testing things that for me at that point uh were not relevant to
Mm-hmm.
do that at that moment. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Kasi, if you take the Clifton strengths, I would be surprised if strategic's not one of your top 5, because with a strength of strategic, like, you see the outcome and you want to get there, right? And so the drive that you have for a solution and to move, right? To keep progressing. I would think you're gonna have strategic probably in your top 5, I would think. So
Yeah, sure. I have one more question, but I'm gonna hold it in case someone else have
okay.
any question. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, Kasi, you're up.
So, those situations where your wife will share something with you and she does need you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Tread
that is
carefully, man.
is I'm trying to be really, really delicate with that. But
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I don't get the point. Like, okay, you're sharing something with me, you want me to listen, is an issue, yet you don't want me to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is, how do we, okay, what string should I use to kind of leverage that? Because sometimes it's hard. It's like for me, if that is an issue and something that is in your mind, you share with me, even if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be the one fixing it, I usually offer a solution, right? But she doesn't like that sometimes.
Doesn't, yeah. And honestly, you have to communicate that, right? Like I said, I have communicated with my family and told them, if you don't want me to start putting together this metaphorical checklist, right? That I want to just hand you, or that I want to just go off and figure out and solve this problem. Like, I need to know that, because, and so I try to have, like, my husband will voice to me, you just need to listen to me. And it's not easy for me, right? Um, but I have to just, right? I have to recognize that that's what they need. Because again, empathy is 25 on my list. So I have empathy. It just doesn't, I don't naturally go there first. And so because I have, my husband or my mother-in-law, like, because of the way they communicate with me, it helps me to realize, okay, I need to elevate my empathy up right now. And it's because it's not easy. It's not natural for me to do that. And there are times I literally will sit on my hands, right? Because I just have to listen to them. So it's taking your strength, right? Because you have all 34 strengths. It's just a matter of the ones that are more dominant for you.
Thank you.
Kasi, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Instead of focusing on her problem, focusing on making her feel seen and heard. That way, your strategy is about her instead of the problem.
Yeah, nice.
And tell her, hey, I'm willing to help solve this, right? When you're ready for that, let me know.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
Any other
It's hard,
questions?
Cozy, when you have that engineer or mechanical background. I have the same problem. You
Yeah.
listen, you want to fix. You're solutioning things as you're listening.
Mhm.
Um,
One
I
of
do it
the
all the time. Gets me in a lot of trouble.
One of the things that I love about what Christy has brought to us is the realization that not everybody perceives problems and situations the same way. It's almost like looking at a picture and having somebody else look at the picture and not knowing that they're colorblind. They see a different variation of colors than we do. But we're both looking at the same picture and you're frustrated with them because they're not responding the same way that you think they should.
Mhm.
But we don't all have the same equipment. We have our, what is it, 39 different strengths and
34.
different,
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
34, thank you, in different
Mhm.
combinations. And understanding what our own strengths are give us permission to be who we are, but then we need to understand what other people's strengths are and give them permission to be who they are and fit
Mhm.
together like puzzle pieces, and we'll be better.
Yeah.
Christy, thank you so much
It
for
really
coming
is. You're
here
very welcome.
today. I'm so excited that this is recorded because I know that this is going to help people for years to come, understanding who we are, having permission to be who we are, understanding the people around us. It's a super powerful thing. And as business analysts, we're in the people business. So we need to understand this. So, Christy, thank you so much. Ladies
Very
and gentlemen,
welcome. Thank
please
you.
join us next week for our annual general meeting. We're going to recap at a high level the things we've done for the entire year. We've accomplished some pretty amazing things and talk about what our plans are for next year. And we want you to be involved. So we'll see you next week. I'll look forward to everything. Christy, again, thank you so much. And I will see y'all next time. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you guys. Have a great rest of the evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.